All right. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending upon where you are around the world. I am Marcus Holmes, and I'm excited to be here today on another installment of Passion Fridays. I love Passion Fridays, and I'm excited to be here. Good afternoon, good morning. I got other volume stuff going. Okay, fantastic. And thank you for those of you that are joining us from our springboard today, which is LinkedIn Live. Thank you so much. But we are also live via Facebook Live, via Restream on the Love and Stuff page and the Marcus R. Holmes page, as well as on Twitch TV and YouTube events as HR Passion Guy. So if you're on any or all of these platforms, thank you for joining us. And I hope that you will click share, tag 5 of your closest Facebook or LinkedIn connections or followers or friends, 5 of your more popular ones to join in what I think will be a wonderful tribute, I hope, and a wonderful edition of Passion Fridays. Feel free to inbox me at Marcus R. Holmes on LinkedIn if you have specific ideas that you'd like to hear about on Passion Fridays. And I see that Simone Joe Moore from France has joined us. Thank you so much. Thank you for preparing dinner and drop in the comments what delicious, scrumptious meals you are preparing. All right, so I've been in HR over the last 24 years, 18 of which have been with the city of Detroit in various roles and capacities. And many years ago, early on in my time with the city of Detroit, relatively early on with my time with the city of Detroit, I performed in a role that has been called employee services consultant. We had business clusters of departments that had some commonalities across our then, I think, maybe 17,000 employees at that time. And they were clustered in business groups. HR serviced them in business groups. And so one of the groups I had was the cultural group at one point. And from that opportunity, I was promoted to a higher level of consulting. And I am thankful for those opportunities that I had through the creation of a department in the city of Detroit. While the city of Detroit was having some reductions in force, there was also some restructuring going on. And so a very brilliant woman, Dr. Janet Anderson, who is still with the city of Detroit these days, did some benchmarking and research and came up with this concept, maybe not totally new, but concept new to the city of Detroit, called general services, where the general services department would pull out all of the activities of internal service providing and merge it into one department. And then the other departments could then go about the business of their primary work, not having to worry about fleet or inventory or building maintenance or facilities maintenance or security. And those types of work were merged into, consolidated into one department. And during that time, I began this journey around employee engagement because I'm fascinated, of course, with people, process, and purpose, particularly. There are other things that I'm fascinated with, but particularly in human resources, I'm fascinated by those things. And so I began to hear about this guy named David Zinger. David Zinger, and he had at that time what was called the Employee Engagement Network. And I subscribed to his blog. I think it was a blog back then, and all of the information, I just, was just consuming it like it were a sponge, or I were a sponge rather, consuming all of the information and finding ways, I thought, to be able to supply it to impact the work of our organization, particularly this brand new department that was comprised of about 700 employees over, I think, 9 divisions at the time. So there were 9 different units within that organization and about 26 different bargaining units that we were attempting to merge the policies and the practices and melt them into one culture. I should write a book just on that experience. It was quite an experience. And so, and part of trying to work through all of the machinations of labor relations and labor partners and the potential thought of violation of bargaining unit agreements and renegotiating those and rediscussing those was the opportunity to get people working together and get people building a culture where we do things all together in one way. And so I owe a debt of gratitude to David Zinger, who I've never met in person. I've corresponded via email. I have also shared via blog post responses, inbox. Today is his birthday. And so I'm going to tag him later in this. I didn't want to put him on the spot, but I wanted him to know that just one guy, the HR passion guy, all the way here in Detroit, Michigan, has always had a special place in my career because of him, and a special fascination and a special lens, if you will, on employee engagement. And it has shaped at least some of the work that I've tried to do over these years. So I want to say both happy birthday to him, David Zinger. Happy birthday to you. And thank you for your continued contribution to work of employee engagement. I just want to read a little bit about who David Zinger is, and then I want to share with you one of the use cases in my early journey of using some of this employee engagement, or my thoughts around it. David Zinger connects the strength of one with the power of many as a student, educator, speaker, coach, and consultant on work, engagement, and burnout. He founded and has hosted the global 7,500 member employee engagement network for over 11 years. David fuses a down-to-earth Canadian prairie upbringing with a global reach. He has worked on leadership and engagement in Canada, Thailand, Bulgaria, Malaysia, United States, Poland, Wales, Turkey, Germany, England, India, Spain, Singapore, South Africa, and more. The list goes on. David is a prolific writer and author. He wrote 4 books on leadership, work, and engagement. His last book was People Artist, Drawing Out the Best from Others at Work. David wrote over 4,000 blog posts and articles on work, engagement, management, and leadership. He is a regular contributor to the Toronto Manager. David taught educational and counseling psychology at the University of Manitoba for over 25 years. David knows work and organizations from the inside out. He worked 15 years as the employee assistance counselor and career development coach at Seagram Ltd. David is focused on 4 elements of work in 2021: work engagement, engaging moments, extinguishing burnout, and powerful listening. David has a depth of understanding of many of the elements of the new workplace, as he has experienced work burnouts on 2 separate occasions, and he has worked from home for 40 years. I want organizations to hear that, because I know organizations are like, you got to get into that office. And I think we have to think about the new normal. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about David Zinger. And again, I didn't want to put him on the spot, but it is his birthday. And he is one of my employee engagement heroes, thought leaders in the space that I've followed over these many, many years. And so I wanted to share that. And I'm also going to share a little bit of his model with you. I will bring that up. Thank you, Marlon Hott and Keith Hutchins, for joining us on Facebook Live. And those of you that have joined me with Simone Jo Moore on LinkedIn Live, if you'll drop your name in the comments, then I will acknowledge you, and it would be my pleasure to do that. All right. So I'm going to share my screen and just share you a little bit of David Zinger's model. because I think it is important. Okay. Got it. Okay. Catching up on my little notes there. Okay. I'm going to share my screen here. And I'm going to share just a little bit of David Zinger's model with you. And he has a 50-page booklet on his pyramid if you want to do. But he starts with this definition, and thank you, Rondell Murray, for joining us as well. He starts with this definition that employee engagement is the art and science of engaging people in authentic and recognized connections to strategy, roles, performance, organization, community, relationship, customers, development, energy, and well-being as we leverage, sustain, and transform our work connections into results. So his definition, though it seems like it's pretty clinical, and it seems like it's a lot of words to it. The meat in it is that you want to have outcomes, right? From all of this engaging people and connecting people, there have to be some outcomes that we can sustain and transform into results, right? And so this is the Zinger model that I have in part operated from for some time. Regarding engagement, and I'm just going to walk you through these 14 employee engagement elements. And there are, of course, symbols that go with them, starting with achieve results. It's directed employee engagement toward achieving results, not just connecting people and measuring how engaged people are, how loyal they are, how connected they are, how much they belong to an organization. It's directed toward achieving results. The first key of the model is on the far right-hand side and begins with the results the organization, department, team, or individual wants to achieve. The key question for this part of the model is, what do you want to achieve and how will you know when you have achieved it? Okay. The second one is to craft a strategy. From the far right side of the model, we move back through the model to the far left-hand side of the model. To achieve results, we need to craft a strategy to get there, he says. How will we get those results? And does everyone know the organization's intentions and plans? Is our strategy engaging, and will we have high enough employee engagement to fulfill the strategy? Next is connect. The central key of employee engagement is connection. In some ways, connections is synonymous with engagement. How well are employees connected to the other elements of engagement, ranging from their organization to genuine happiness? Connect starts the central keys of care embedded in the employee engagement model. So A is the authenticity is the A of care. Employee engagement must be authentic. Employees and customers can spot phony from a mile away or even in a moment in time. We must transcend superficial relationships, community, or happiness toward engagement that is heartfelt. Powerful engagement is real and robust, he says. The R in care is recognition. The R is in the core of care is recognition, excuse me. Potent employee engagement requires powerful recognition. We're talking about a lot more than long service awards or pins. Are employees fully seen and acknowledged? Do employees see the importance of what they are doing and how their work connects to results? Okay. The E in this care model from David Zinger is engage. We so often talk about engagement and substitute the verb of working engage for a static noun engagement. Engage focuses on the actions of engagement. Engagement is not a one-time survey measure or a steady state. To engage is to fully experience and contribute to the dynamic elements of work. We have various roles, David says, that we must fulfill to fully engage. A role is a set of behaviors, rights, and obligations at work. Most employers don't elevate the rights, and they elevate the obligations, but not the rights. We must guard against too many roles or role overload, while also fully being in the roles that contribute to results, relationships, and engagement. Sometimes leaders and managers are almost impervious to their role as employee too. We don't think of leaders and managers as employees, but a part of the engagement that's trickled down is dependent upon how a manager and leader sees themselves in this role of engagement. Thank you, Karen Poole, for joining us. Thank you, Eric Powell, for joining us. Karen, don't forget to inbox me. I just reminded me of something. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much. And all of you that are joining either on LinkedIn Live, Facebook Live, Twitch TV, or YouTube events, this is my ode to one of the thought leaders and one of my heroes in employee engagement. Those of you that don't know, I am an operations general manager for the city of Detroit, and I am the HR passion guy. I'm passionate about people, process, and purpose. And in my role in human resources over 25 years, 18 with the city, engagement has been a mainstay of interest for me. And I'm excited that today is one of my thought leaders' birthday. I didn't want to put him on the spot too much, but I will tag him in this presentation, ode to him. Engagement, excel at performance. Engagement for results can contribute to effective performance management. Performance demonstrates our engagement, while engagement can help us excel at performance. Good employee engagement should foster star performers. We want to help each employee become a star performer to benefit customers, the organization, and themselves. And thank you for the happy birthday shouts out to David. If you don't mind, if you can drop that in the comments. Happy birthday, David. It's also on Facebook, my niece Tamara Lynn Williams' birthday. So either of those would be great. Happy birthdays. But of course, this is an ode to David. So esteem organization. How aligned is the employee with the organization? Is there a mesh between the organizational and employee brand or individual brand? Do employees feel that they are part of the organization or a part away from the organization? Are they proud to work for their organization and equally proud to recommend their organization and be constant ambassadors for the organization? Very key, very important. Foster community. A strong key of employee engagement is our connection to relationships and community. These relationships and community can be personal and social media. Do we build relationships and results? The essence of work is relationships and community. Organizations that do not transform themselves into communities, David says, are in danger of becoming obsolete or ignored. And so I wanted to just pause at this point because I think it's been spot on for some time. A lot of places said, we're a big family here. And I was in a session yesterday where someone said, that's a red flag. And it can be. If someone says, we're all one big happy family, it could be a red flag. But more said, I think it's a community, because you probably in very few instances would demote or take a negative action against a family member. You might, but in a community where everybody has some value and brings stake to the structure, I think community is a better way to express the connectivity in an organization than family. I won't argue that, but that I tend to agree with David there a little bit. Serve customers. We want employees to serve the organization's customers, and there are very strong relationships between employee engagement and customer engagement. Does the employee feel served by the organization and managed so much that they in turn offer the same level of service to the external and internal customers? So are we serving our employees so that they may serve others? Develop career. Work should offer benefits back to employees. Employees should experience both personal and professional development through work, ranging from courses and learning to developing their own strengths, values, visibility, and engagement. We spend so much time at work, and work should help us become all we are capable of becoming, personally and professionally, David says. Leverage energies. The raw material of engagement is energy. Getting back to that limbic resonance, that energy that you bring, the energy of shared moods when you enter into groups. Do we have the energy to fully engage? Do we offer the organization an energy gain, or do we deplete the energy of our peers? Great question. Powerful engagement involves mastery of physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and organizational energy. Energy, not time, is the vital resource for engaged working. And we've talked about self-care and how important it is for you to master self as you are interacting and engaging with others. Experience well-being. Ultimately, work should contribute to employee well-being. Employees need to both engage in and experience healthy work healthy well-being. And organizations' results are dependent upon the healthy and productivity of individual employees. So this is a brief overview, and you can learn more at davidzinger.com. I am today celebrating him because this is how I got so fascinated with the work of employee engagement through David Zinger. I call him the father of employee engagement. I call him a thought leader in employee engagement. Some may join in that sentiment and some may not, but I certainly believe it for him. And so part of that work landed on me and stuck to my bones, I will say, that I wanted to use it with the thought that I wanted to achieve some results in a way that I could connect and engage employees. And so one of my test cases, I will call it, and I'm going to tag some of those former and present employees of that department. I no longer serve in that capacity, but I enjoyed that capacity. I won't say they were my favorite department because I helped to create it. I'm going to say they're one of the great departments in the city. I love all of the departments in the city equally. All of you are my favorites. Okay. But I put to the test, you see, a little bit of this employee engagement with the general services department, which again comprised of, I think it was 9 divisions. I may get it wrong, so I'm sorry if I do. But of course, there was ground maintenance is one of the divisions that was there, building maintenance, facilities management, security, fleet, inventory management. I'm leaving some out, can't think of, and some others. Should have written them down. And I did a test case with one of those divisions, which was ground maintenance. And ground maintenance had seasonal hire, so their numbers could go from 100, I think, and 71 to about 500. So in the season time, they could add from 200 to 400 extra workers that would work from back then, I think it was March to the end of October. They would have seasonal workers who would help to maintain all of the landscape in parks and at buildings around the city, including the health department locations, police precincts, all the recreation facilities, and a number of other buildings. They were responsible for the landscaping, grass cutting, all of that, tree trimming, all of that. And so ground maintenance, you see, was a very physical kind of work. I had the pleasure to go with the executive manager of ground maintenance to Chicago to see how Chicago did ground maintenance and to see how the differences in how they did it and how the city has done it. And I also got to go out into the field and satellite and mobile work to talk to employees and watch them and see their work. So I'm the kind of HR person that didn't just like to sit in the office in that role. I like to go out and learn the business. And I advise that to every HR professional, particularly every new HR professional, which I have a special webinar coming for new professionals and those that are looking at certification. But I was very interested in going into the field. Some people don't like that word, but going out into satellite locations. Okay. And what I noticed in comparing that to some of the data that came back is that there were people in various areas that had a higher incident of the need for intermittent FMLA for themselves for chronic conditions, and also who had a higher incident with work-related injuries as they seem to have more tenure. And I said, how can we get this group more engaged around being in the work, coming to work, engaged in doing the work, and getting connected to the work and the organization as an internal service provider? And so I pitched an idea, and I'm going to show you one of the flyers for this campaign of the idea that I pitched. I hope it will come up in just a second for you. Let's see. It's coming up now. There we go. I pitched the Biggest Loser campaign. I did some surveys about well-being and healthiness and who exercised and who didn't and who was interested in a more healthy lifestyle. And we came up with our own version of the Biggest Loser competition. And it was department-wide for anybody that wanted to participate, but really focused on ground maintenance to get people engaged with a work that was already physical and getting engaged with getting in tune with their own physicality, getting in tune with themselves so that they can emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically be in more fine tuning, starting with the physical, right? And so at various workstations throughout the city, we had scales where people who participated would go into those workstations once a week and weigh in. And so we had this over, I think it was 4 months. Yep, about 4 months. They registered, and there were, of course, cash prize incentives to that. And that person there, I did not get her permission to show her picture, but she was a person who just modeled a pair of the executive manager's pants, and she stood in them. And he agreed to also work on his physical as well. So I think it's important to say that because he was a leader who was fully sponsoring this and fully participating. And many different chronic conditions, weight can impact them, such as diabetes, such as your blood pressure. So managing and balancing your weight and living more healthy, eating more healthy can help to balance those things. And so we had great participation. People were really excited and engaged around the campaign. Now, some people probably were excited and engaged for the cash prize. But over time, what we saw is that people started to connect across divisions who really hadn't connected before. People had started to connect around this mission you see of more healthy living, and they would challenge each other to park farther from the building or to ride the bike, or the activities and conversations that were born out of this created a groundswell of engagement, which is what I wanted to, with the results of being people coming to work more. So curing some of the absenteeism and addressing some of the presenteeism, which is people are present at work, but they're not fully capable to do their jobs. Health-wise, how many times have you gone to work sick and you just weren't able to get a full day because you had that headache that wouldn't go away, or a body ache or something? Your blood glucose was out of whack, or your blood pressure, right? Or you had these other challenges. Your mental health was compromised. There were things going on in the background in your life, right? And you couldn't fully bring your authentic self fully to work. That's a presenteeism issue that people aren't able to fully give when they are present, right? And we started to see a change and shift in productivity, a change and shift in the energy, which is that raw material of engagement, and a change and shift in the results, in the ground maintenance cycles, and the accidents that had happened. Those started to decrease. And I said, wow, this employee engagement is awesome. Our campaign was really around driving a result around something that people had a common need for. People had a common need to live healthier, especially those that are doing more physical roles, right? Because that physical role takes away from some of that energy that you need to be able to replenish. You need to bring back a fresh person every day. And if you're getting adequate sleep, if you're eating healthier, if you're living healthier, you're able to bring more fully yourself each day to that work. And so that was one of the marked advantages that we noticed, that people were coming to work more often. There were less sick day call-offs, and people seemed to be more present, more productive in the given day, because they were more conscious of the energy and how they use the energy in every day. In a couple of places, there was some equipment where I don't know how the equipment got there. I cannot explain it, and how some people have makeshift equipment because now, sometimes when you're doing a competition, people want to start flexing their muscles and working out and bench pressing and squats at the work. So we had some of that where people were in the workplace, kind of showing off their weight loss. At the end of the 4 months, the winner, and I will tag her in this was years ago though, but the winner, I think Ernestine Smith lost a total of 80 pounds, 80 plus pounds during that time. And it was remarkable. She says, I feel like a new person, Mr. Holmes. I was like, well, congratulations. Can I get a shake? Uh, but she felt like a new person and noticed how she felt about uh, others in the workplace somewhat changed. And I noticed how others interacted across divisions changed. Now, you have to use the campaign that will work for your specific business unit or organization. It might not be, you may not have as large a group of satellite or mobile workers as I had who need to be physical. Mowing the lawn is riding a lawnmower, but of course you're riding over bumps, right? It's weed whacking, right? It's raking, it's cleaning, it's bending, it's pushing, pulling, it's lifting, it's garbage dump at parks, right? It's very physical, in other words. So maybe your workers are more knowledge workers and they need to most effectively use the time to come up with strategies and come up with collaborations and ideations that will drive business results. But whatever it is, you can design your surveys to find out what your employees need. What would make your employees feel more healthy, feel more productive at work? It could be meditation and mindfulness in the morning, on Zoom, moments of reflection, and teaching employees how to build into their day moments of reflection in between tasks so that they can do deep breathing and mindfulness so that they can sit in the center of those tasks, feel how it is to do the work, and synthesize, the information in a way that helps them to drive business results. But whatever it is, there has to be a result. Employee engagement for the sake of employee engagement is not the goal. Employee engagement for the sake of measuring it is not the goal. You do measure the things in anywhere in life, measure only what matters, right? And if you measure it, it begins to matter, right? If you put a tape measure around your waist and measured exactly what your waist was, and then put that tape over your belly and seen the difference, that measurement might start to matter if you did it over time, right? And you might even obsess about it. I got to lose an inch. I got to lose 2 inches, right? The things that you measure tend to matter. So only measure what matters, right? But if you're measuring what matters, it should matter as connected to the business result. And so to measure engagement, to see employees are highly engaged, or they're engaged, or they're actively disengaged, or they're highly disengaged, is measuring for measuring. What are you going to do with that? What do you hope to do once you find out that you have 30% of your tenured employees are actively engaged, which means along that continuum, 70% are not, right? Or 30% are highly engaged. I'm better say it that way. Then 70% are not. They're somewhere else along the continuum. What do you hope to do with that information? You hope to drive business results, right? Because businesses that have highly engaged employees are 5 times more profitable at their bottom line. 5 times more profitable. So you want profits. We're not in business just to say business, right? We're in business because there's a customer who has what we need, or need what we have rather, right? We're in business because they need what we have and it's at a price. It's at a value to them that we hope will increase our market share in this area, right? We're in business for business, right? We're in business to gain. We're in business, even if it is to gain brand, if it's to gain citizens and residents, we're in business for some purpose of gain. And so how is employee engagement connected into that gain? Because employees that are more engaged are more productive. They collaborate more. They bring better ideas that help you drive new product design and implementation more quickly and with more quality. And that is why you want highly engaged employees. And how do you do that? You have to listen to the employees, what they're telling you, what would help them to feel mind, body, soul more fully authentic to bring their best to you to work. And that is what one of the many things that I have gleaned from the thought leadership, the great soul of engagement that is David Zinger. And that's why on his birthday today, I celebrate him and the Employee Engagement Network. Its work has had a profound impact on me over these years. And I've never quenched the desire completely to see employee engagement, not only in the city of Detroit, but in other organizations, because I believe that employee engagement should be central to a business's strategy, right? When you think of employee engagement, it's a piece in my mind of what is the overall employee experience and thereby the employee value proposition. What can every employee expect to get from you? And what can every employee expect to be giving to you? And there is some point at which you're expecting an employee to reach a peak or apex, and there's some journey to getting there. And the better that the employee gets there and stays connected to getting there, the more valuable that employee is to your proposition, whatever that proposition may be. It could be that our employees come from diverse backgrounds, but all come together to collaborate and drive business results that are 10% better than our competitors, right? Whatever your employee value proposition is. And employee A gets to the apex by having this many years and brought this much revenue or accomplished this many projects, whatever it is that you're measuring, that's your employee lifetime valuation, right? But that employee lifetime valuation should align with your proposition for all employees, right? That along some journey, they return on the investment in some way. And that some way translates into the end result for your business. And so employee engagement fits into that as a well-oiled piece to say, we want our employees to feel not only that they belong, but that they have access. They have access to being connected to all parts of our organization, that there's some interconnected vision that brings us all together for some purpose that all employees are aligned to, and that every employee has access to that. Every employee has access to grow, to develop, to flourish here for us to achieve that end vision and to enjoy the journey along the way. Thank you, Timothy Dennis, who was a stellar supervisor for the city of Detroit, now enjoying retirement, but he will understand. He led one of the teams that were very physical, not in this specific department. We didn't do the biggest loser in their department, but he led a team very physical. And so how do you engage satellite workers around a mission and around something that's of value to them? Because you got to remember, employees bring value, but employees have values that they bring. I hope that makes sense. Employees bring you value because that's what you want, right? But they also have values that they bring. They also have things that are important to them that they bring to your organization. Now, how can you marry the two? Karen Poole says that is very important. Yes, it is. And I think in the lens, Karen, of this great resignation, the great resignation that we're hearing a lot more about is because, in part, in April 2021, just a few months ago, right? 4 million people left their jobs in the United States. This is a statistic from the Work Institute's retention report. 4 million people didn't leave the workforce, they left the companies that they work for. And that number climbed over the successive months. I don't have final numbers for those months, but we have a final number for April. Think about that. 4 million people said goodbye to their employers. Now, what the Work Institute's report also tells us is that the number one reason that they left was not pay. The number one reason that they left was not their manager. The number one reason that they left, and the mid-year report still supports this, was career development. People left because they did not feel that they could grow. People want to grow. And this pandemic has brought a light to people to say, why spend my time in a place that is telling me that my employee valuation, my lifetime valuation is at an apex? I need to go somewhere where they value me and they show it by helping me to grow both professionally and personally. And this is consistent with the data that I share with you from David Zinger, done many years ago. It's true today that employees want to grow. They want to be valued. And the way that you speak that value in consideration and the exchange of consideration is with growth. Where are the stretch assignments? Where are the promotions? Where are the laterals for the individual contributors that don't want to lead, but they want to grow? Growth does not always mean that you will become the leader. And organizations think our top performers are leaders. That doesn't have to be true. You have to democratize the power so that you have people that are at an individual contributor level, but who can still grow. And part of that is financial. But part of that is other assignments, other work that deepens their commitment to the organization, but deepens the meaning of the work to them. People want to grow. That people no longer want to be stagnant, where we had a lot of time to sit home and think, wow, what am I really doing with my life? Is the work I'm doing meaningful? I'm sorry, I'm leaving. And 4 million of them said that. And so in the context of the Great Resignation, employers have to think about retention and think about the people that are performing or could be high performers who have just been waiting for the opportunity to leave. Thinking about the new hires who are what they're calling ghosting coasting. They're taking a position that they're not quite qualified for, and they're leaving without any notice and saying bye, because we aren't engaging them. We aren't finding what matters and the values that they bring to us, and how do we marry those values with what we value? And that should be built into our process from the time someone fills out the application till the time that someone decides to venture out somewhere else. All along the employee life cycle, we've got to be learning the employees' values and seeing how well they are aligned to us, and continue to guide them in the directions where those values can be heightened and elevated. Every employee every day should say yes to this question: can I do the work that I can do best here and it be valued every day? And every employee should say yes to that. That has to be the goal. It has to be work that they can do, that they have the ability to perform, that brings meaning to the organization and meaning to them. And that quest is part and parcel of the employee engagement journey. And so I'm hopeful that organizations across all spectrums who are contending with retention and contending with the Great Resignation are thinking about employee engagement in a new and robust way to ensure that you bring on employees and that you onboard them, you include them, you give them access, and you thereby engage them. And so today we celebrate David Zinger, who in part has imparted so much of that to people in the Employee Engagement Network. And like I said, it's been many years, but I have taken many of the nuggets from his work and tried to implement them in various ways in the city of Detroit, and partner with other organizations to do the same. We are at 12:47. I want to thank all of you who have joined. Alan C. Esther Jr., thank you for joining, and those that are on LinkedIn Live. As we come toward a close, what are some other tools that can be used to achieve this? So I think the basic thing you start is, as David Zinger says, you start with your, what do you want to achieve? That's where you start. And that a tool to help you start that is really a conversation, surveys with the executive leadership or the CEO, right? What are the results? What are the results? Do we want 10% more of the market share? What's the business result, right? And then you craft your strategy. And it does take you getting survey data, which survey data can be, I don't want to oversimplify it. Qualitative data can be something to synthesize. So you got to have some folks that can do it. Maybe somebody that is, has an industrial psychologist background, an HR professional, someone who has survey methodology and understands it, right? And then you deliver surveys to your employees. Now, if you never delivered a survey, Karen, you might want to do it anonymously. And sometimes you might use a third party to do that, right? But you want to do it simple, that people can do it from their cell phones, right? So you want to capture the ability for mobile workers, such as bus drivers. A bus driver should be able to pull out their cell phone and fill out the survey. Someone who works in the recreation facilities, who delivers programming out on the grass right now. On his break time, he or she should be able to deliver that, fill out that survey, so that you gather the information as to why are you here? Why do you stay here? What works for you here? What does not work for you here? What's important to you? What do you think meaningful work is? Those are the kinds of questions that you're going to ask on a survey, and then synthesize that data across demographics, across departments, or across business units. Does one business unit seem to be more highly engaged than another? Why? Is it the leadership? Why? Is it the benefits? Do they have flexible work schedule? What are the things that people have in common and different, and how does that look across your organization? And then I think that you layer that in with performance data, right? Now, how many of the people that are highly engaged are high performers? And how many of the people that are just actively disengaged are low performers? Can you use that data to marry them together? Can you make mentor-mentee relationships out of those? Can you make ambassadors for engagement out of that performance data? Can you use it to do that? Okay. Who's attending our learning and development opportunities? Do we need more learning and development opportunities based on what people are telling us? I would be more engaged if I didn't get promoted. I wish I had the opportunity to learn what I needed to get to that promotion. Do we need to put that person with an engagement ambassador who rocks in that area where they may not be strong in that area, and begin to partner with them to build up that person? So there are many different ways, resources, tools that you can use, depending on the size and complexity of your organization, to drive more engagement with those that are less engaged, increase the engagement with those that are highly engaged, and use those highly engaged as ambassadors throughout the organization, is one way that you might do it, just starting this journey. And then you do pulse surveys. After you've done that initial survey, then you do pulse surveys along that journey in different areas, and you build out different things like your employee resource groups and affinity groups, your recognition. How do employees want to be recognized? What recognition is important to them? There are employees, similar to Gary Chapman's 5 languages of love. He has 5 languages of love for the workplace. Okay, not every employee wants you to get on the speaker, the bullhorn, and say, "Great job, Marcus." Some employees like an attaboy. Some want lunch. Some want, a number of millennials in a recent survey wanted more time with their leaders. They want more access. They want to have lunch with the leadership and pick their brains. That's something simple, because everybody's got to eat, right? That you could do a lunch and learn, even if it was live, even if it was in this environment. I mean, if you couldn't get a big room of people together because you're doing social distance, you could have your lunch and treat them, give them a coupon and go to lunch, or they could have their lunch on the camera and you say, "Hey, I'm eating from Zoop. I love Zoop soup. And a salad, this is my favorite to go to, and I normally eat at 2:30. I'm just really telling you my business. I like Zoop, and I like to eat at 2:30. toward the close of the day. People go at lunch 11. I'm like, oh, I'll catch y'all later. 2:30 is my time. It's my time where I'm reflecting, and I like to eat most of the times just me. But if there was someone said, hey, Mr. Holmes, I want to pick your brain about HR and this, this employee engagement, I could do a lunch and learn with all of them. Though we might not all be in the same place, we all are eating our meals and talking. I'm just answering questions. They're putting questions in the chat. I do a break room where people can go and talk to me one-on-one or talk or share more information. That might be for some millennials who want time with the leaders. They want to be connected to the leadership and they want access. I'm a big proponent that you can say you're including people by giving everybody a seat around the table. And to me, that inclusion doesn't necessarily mean access. Now, true inclusion might, but I add the word access because I believe everybody around the table could have a voice, and not everybody around the table is listening to everybody else's voice, right? But if everybody around the table understands that the leader says that you all have equal access to me, everybody's going to start listening to everybody's voice because they know everybody has a chance to influence that leader. And if that leader only invites 10% of the people around the table out for drinks or to the old boys network or for golf or for whatever, then it's really not inclusive. It is performative. Inclusive means I have access to the leadership. And sometimes access to the leadership means the leader democratizes the power and pushes it out and says, I'm leading from the edge. I want you to drive and deepen our market share, drive and deepen our business capability, because you have broad power within boundaries, but you have broad power and access to me, access to the C-suite when you need to use that power more judiciously or you need to broaden that power. That's access. But if only one person at the table can really go to the leader and tell him or her what he or she thinks, then you all really don't all have inclusion. You are performatively sitting at a table as a figurehead. The goal is the access. And when millennials have access, it tends to drive engagement. When women have access, it tends to drive engagement. Men, part and parcel, already have access. Some of them may not know how to use it, and that could drive disengagement, but most of them have access. Or at least most of them have more access than those other groups. And of course, persons of colors, particularly African-American, vie for that access across intersectionalities, whether they are women, men, non-binary, gender fluid, lesbian, gay, transsexual, bisexual, identity expressive. Those intersectionalities among persons of color, especially African-American, make them have to vie for that access, right? And so the goal is, if you want to engage people from a C-suite, you have to give them access to you in a way that is meaningful to them. And again, that's not for everybody, but most millennials, especially from most recent reports, and women. But everybody has some area of recognition that's important to him or her. And you have to be about the business to find out what it is. Now, it's more difficult to personalize that for 42,000 employees than it would be for 40, right? But you have to build systems that help you personalize the experiences so that people are recognized and engaged in ways that are meaningful to them. I am excited. It's 12:56. If you haven't noticed, I'm excited about employee engagement because many, many years ago, I read a blog post from David Zinger, commented on the blog post. I'm fascinated. I want to learn more. Please share more. And I emailed David Zinger and he responded. Now, this employee engagement network has been going on for many years with thousands of people. And he responded personally to me. And I'll never forget him for that. And I've continued to try to, not hound him, bug him, stalk him, but I've continued to try to engage him and stay connected with him over the years and follow his work. So many others have flooded the engagement space. I'm flooding it myself because I have an engagement app that I'm trying to get a partner and developer to help me build, which I think is going to change the game for employers. Of course, every app developer says that, but I really believe it. And in part, I have been ignited down this pathway because of David Zinger and his work. And today is his birthday. And I just believe you should celebrate people who have imparted to you. And again, he and I have never met face to face. I think he's still in Canada. Of course, he's traveled the world over doing this engagement work. As I said at the outset, many different countries. He's been a speaker in many different places. But he thought enough to connect with a young human resources professional back then, a little younger than I am now, and ignite a fire in me about moving the strategy of engagement closer to the strategy of business. And I've been on that journey ever since, in ways and places where I could impact it and will continue to. I hope to have some impact, maybe not as gargantuan as he is, but I hope to have some impact on HR professionals and business professionals that come on the scene behind me, as David did for me. So David Zinger, happy birthday. Thank you for all that you've given to your employee engagement network, those of us that have been a part of it and others on the periphery of it. You have impacted this space in our industry, in our world, and I wanted you and others to know it. And I'm going to tag you in this. I know you wouldn't be for the bravado and big ha-ha, but I don't think that I would have been impacted and done some of the use cases, if you will, doing professional development conferences and administrative professional conferences, and then measuring the engagement and measuring the productivity over 30, 60, 90, 120 days, 180 days. I got that from you. And I am grateful for the return on that investment. And so I want to shout it from this rooftop, such as it is today, to say thank you. Your work, your labor, your passion has not been in vain. If it hasn't impacted anybody else, and I know that it has, it's impacted one HR professional, self-proclaimed HR passion guy, Marcus Holmes, and I'll never forget it. I will always be thankful for the work that you've done. It's 1:00 and it's time to rock, which means that it is time to go, but it's been an exceptional hour. And I thank you, whether you've joined us from LinkedIn Line, where we've emanated with Simone Jo Moore, who's our French connection. She's in France and she's cooking dinner, listening to HR Passion based on the time difference. Whether you're on Facebook like Karen Poole or Eloquent Weaver, Hey Uncle, or Michael Kemp or Timothy Dennis or others. Whether you're on Twitch TV or YouTube events, Passion Fridays is a place that we're grateful that you've come to. And I hope that some of my passion about employee engagement has at least ignited you into your passion. You might not be passionate about employee engagement, but there's somebody somewhere that has served as a mentor of sorts to you in what you're doing now. Go back and celebrate him or her. Tell them thank you. Let them know how they've impacted your life, and then carry it forward to someone else. And you'll be surprised. My passion about engagement might ignite your passion about sports, or your passion about music, or your passion about emotional agility. Whatever your passion is. Think about your mentors today. Think about the thought leaders in that space and what they have contributed to your journey in that passion. And then go back and say thank you, and be grateful that you're on a path forward to share what has uniquely been designed for you to give to this world. I'm Marcus Holmes, the HR Passion Guy. I hope to see you next Friday in Passion Fridays, where I connect you with things I'm passionate about, passionate topics, people that are passionate, and people that are living their passion and purpose where they intersect. Have a grateful day. Don't forget, you can get the Gratefulness Journey every day. What are you doing in the next 30 days to transform your life? Available now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Have a great day.